the Mars and cars now, whichever get up. Light up my card with a sweet one bliss. Someone flicks me a bag it up. Say, oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.
What's going on, people? Welcome back to the Stay Weighed-In show presented by iBoxingHub in association with our sponsor, D-Rock Clothing. I'm joined with my man Ray. Ray, how are we?
Listen, man, quite well. Not the biggest week of boxing, but a nice farewell. So nice send off. So yeah, it's decent. Yourself?
I'm so happy. In the words of I can't remember who said it. Believe me, I'm so happy. I believe it was Pep Guardiola. And the reason I'm bringing him up is he's one master of the football field, but there's another master in the ring. That's my British hero, Derek War Chisora. Listen, he's had his haters, he's had his ups, he's had his downs. At 49, at fight number 49, he goes in Manchester and he dominates Otto Wallin. And that secures himself a potential IBF title fight as well, fight number 50. But I just want to ask you about the fight itself, because I said it on when I was previewing with Rico and Trill when they were doing the live. I said, I don't care about the technical side of Otto Wallin. When Derek Chisora goes in there and molds you from minute one of round one, you actually do not know what's hit you. And he will gas you out as much as he's gassed out, and he was probably gassed out in round 3 or 4.
Yeah.
In the second win, you don't have that opportunity to get that second win because he's beating you up so much. And that's literally what happened. Like, he was on the offensive from moment one, and Otto Wallin just genuinely looked like a participant in a fight where he actually went in as the favorite. When the fight was made, did you think that this is kind of how it would play out, or were you one of the people that thought, look, it's going to be a nice send-up, but he'll probably lose?
I didn't know what to expect because Otto Wallin has been living off. Let me not say living off. The public have given Otto Wallin more credit for how he performed against Fury more than anything. Correct.
Yeah.
So I think two things. Where does that leave where Otto Wallin's actual level is right now? And two, shout out to Derek Chisora because he's learned to be efficient in the way he fights, where he knows he hasn't got the best gas tank, but he just loves a scrap and he fights in bursts. And he's just mastered the way of, like, he knows how to weather a storm. He'll weather a storm, and then he'll just drop you out of nowhere with like a slugging right hand that you're watching it thinking, how do you not see that coming? But in there, it's grueling. And then you get hit with the overhand right. And you saw at first, like the first knockdown, he was off balance. He was running back and then
he was sprinting all the way back.
Yeah, his legs just gave way. It was like very few people know that feeling of your legs just saying like, nah, they're under you, but they're not really. And then he tried to regain his balance and dropped. And, you know, shout out War Chisora. That's just what a grizzly vet does. He just he brings you into a war of attrition. And he's got that dog in him to keep going.
I remember when he lost to Usyk, then he went back to back and lost to Joseph Parker. There was the calls for retirement. Since then, the only loss he's had is Tyson Fury. He's won 4 out of his last 5 fights. We're going into fight 50, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think there's more of Derek Chisora potentially past 50, but he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. But I genuinely believe, and hear me out when I say this, you've got the elite guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you strip away the elite guys, I'm talking the top 4 or 5 in terms of what they accomplished through the period Chisora was in, Chisora just slots right underneath that for me, genuinely, because he's fought the best of the best. He may have not always beaten the best of the best, but then he's beaten everybody underneath him.
Yeah.
So that's why I look at it. I'm like, he's a B+ fighter, and I think only until recently has he actually been able to get that respect that he confirmed, I'm stopping at 50 from the fans, and people have looked back and said, wait a minute, he's fought Usyk, he's fought Fury, he's fought Parker, he's fought your Dillian Whites, whoever's been in front of him, he's fought. And I think I don't think he doesn't go past 50 because it's what he said.
I hope he doesn't.
But if he was to actually come out and win a 50th fight, people will then say,
No. This
what
is
are you?
this is why
Yes, I am getting excited. I am getting excited. Don't
some
get
of
me
you
wrong.
fans are dangerous and don't care about these fighters' long-term health. He's clearly, don't get me wrong, as much as I give him credit for weathering the storm, being a Grizzly vet, there is a line that you should not cross. And the scary thing with Chisora, and he'll tell you this himself, that man is a fighter through and through. He just loves a scrap. And if he doesn't save himself from himself, he will get himself hurt in the long run. And then you are down the point of no return, a la James Toney.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think he's been so adamant. Like even in the post-fight press conference, we would just say, "You look so good there," and he shuts it off, not in a way to say you lot are arseholes or anything like that. It's just to say, "I know 50 is my limit. I'm going to take 50. I'm going to go out on my own shield at 50," and I respect that because it's that acknowledgement that I think a lot of fans probably thought at one point Derek Chisora doesn't have that acknowledgement of himself as to when to stop, and I think he's managed to get it and he's been super firm with it.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you about who he fights for 50 because I'm going to say this. When I was there, we were saying it off air. This felt like London came to Manchester. Manchester became the capital of the UK for once. You had everybody from all the big guys.
I call Manchester Northern London as it
Yeah,
is.
it's mini London. But this just felt like, okay, wait, all eyes are genuinely on Manchester. You had, like we were saying before, Chip was there, Skepta, Lethal
Yeah.
Bizzle, Tiny. Then you had obviously the guys from London in terms of boxing were all there as well. And he put out the names. He said Usyk, AJ, Dubois as the three that he had holding. If you had to rank them 1, 2, 3, one being the easiest, three being the hardest, what would you rank them three as right now?
Wait, say that again.
So the three fighters he had that he took pictures of,
Usyk,
because
Fury, and
sorry, Usyk, Dubois, and Joshua. If you had to rank them between 1 to 3, one being the easiest fight for him and three being the hardest, what would you put?
one being the easiest would be AJ. And only because him and AJ are boys. So as much as I think for him, he knows what he's doing with that. That'd basically be an exhibition fight. To those that don't know, them two are tight. They've trained at I think it's Finchley ABC. I think it's Finchley, yeah. But basically we've trained together in North London from day. Derek Chisora has been like, like a brother to him. You see it like whenever AJ fights, Chisora's like right there, G'ing him on. So I couldn't see them two going for the knockout against each other. It might get heated later down the line because you know how Derek is, but I can't see them like going into full kill mode with each other for a fight like that. So yeah. Second, I'll say Usyk. And the only reason I'm putting Usyk second is because Usyk has shown in the past sometimes where he has empathy for certain fighters. So it's almost like, yo, if I've got you beat, there's no need for me to go for the kill. I think he even said in the first AJ fight when people getting onto him like, oh, you could have finished him. And I think he was just like, yo, like, the job was done. Whereas obviously the Fury fight was just like, I could be screwed by the judge. I need to kill this guy before someone tries to say I didn't win that fight. And then the most dangerous would definitely be Dubois because that guy is just in a space where he's the young up-and-coming gunner. And I just feel like that's just a fight waiting to get hurt. Like, at that stage of your career, you do not need to be fighting someone in Dubois' position at all. I'm sure there's better ways to get money in boxing than fighting Dubois.
I'm going to say something a tad controversial, and this I'm going to go off a little bit of what Chisora says. Just because I will say this, like as much as he is crazy and whatever, I genuinely believe he has a super smart brain.
Yeah,
Because when
definitely.
we did the intro press conference and I asked him about Tyson Fury, and he just flat out said Tyson Fury has zero chance simply due to the guys that he's been sparring with compared to Usyk, so he's got no chance.
Mhm.
He said something that was interesting. He goes, in the first 6 rounds, when Dubois faces Parker, he has to get him out.
Who?
Dubois has to get out Parker.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
And he
Agreed.
goes, one of these guys is going to take a knee. And I think he was kind of leaning on Dubois a little bit. I semi feel that he could put enough pressure on Dubois to make it so awkward for Dubois, where he's probably just thinking, I've never had this awkward pressure.
Mm,
Where, yes, I've got power and I've got speed. He's got this innate ability, just he's taking my shots to a point where the only way this is going to be stopped is if the doctor stops him right now. He's not falling down. Like I don't know what to do to get him to fall down.
this is where I'll disagree with that.
Okay. But also, I'll say this: I'm drinking the Derek Chisora Kool-Aid at this present moment in
Yes.
time.
Oh, and I
I will say
appreciate.
that.
I
I will say
appreciate
that.
you. You don't
100%.
you don't admit stuff like that with other fighters, but let's not get into that.
No, no. This
But
is a love
I
affair.
appreciate the truthfulness. A younger Derek Chisora maybe, and a younger Dubois maybe. Where Dubois is now, I feel like Joseph Parker can execute that type of game plan. Chisora, I feel like the tires are too worn out to execute that safely. It's almost like, I know boxing channel, listen, we're MMA guys at the same time. It's almost like we've been saying about Izzy with the whole like, not I won't call it downfall, with the losses that he's had of late. It's not a motivation thing. It's just simply the wear and tear that's happened to your body. Eventually, I don't even know if I'll call it. Well, no, Chisora is definitely father time, but like Izzy, for example, where it's just like you can only put your body through so many battles before it starts wearing the scars. And the reason I use that Izzy example is because I'm sure he's capable of, executing certain things. He can see certain things. He can read it. But then when your body starts saying, nah, I know the reaction you want, but I'm not going to react like that. It's
I
humbling. And I feel like Derek is past that point of he knows his body can't react like how it needs to. Even look at the Joe Joyce fight, which was the most awkward slugfest. But it was
listen.
just
What did I
like,
say? What did I say? His aura put Joe Joyce down
that was the
on the map.
funniest. Both of them, it was the most awkward slugfest. But I feel like where Dubois is now, he hasn't gone through that wear and tear. He still got reflexes. What is he like? Still
27?
mid to late 20s.
Yeah, I think it's 27
That
or 28.
he that's that dangerous point where it's like you could be better than someone technically, but if your technique isn't the slickest, just pure youth can sometimes just get you out of there just because of pure youth. That's just the way the game is sometimes. As much technique as you could have, if the youthful energy comes with good technique, not even like, and the bar's got good technique as well. So good technique, and you've got, you're on the positive side of your physical capabilities. I'm sorry, take the L out of love, it's over, brother.
I hear it. Look, I'm calling this a semi-tribute show to Derek Chisora.
No, that's fair play.
In terms of, like, there's so many. Can you just note down just some random things of Derek Chisora, some memories that you look at and think, yeah,
We
that's
already know what
elbow.
number one is.
The table flip?
He glares me. He glares me. David, hey, I'm going to physically shoot you. Listen, was it shoot you or burn you? One of them. That was because you're there like, what the hell? Because looking back, I'm sure they probably, obviously, David Hay, that's after he lost his championship fight, isn't it? I'm sure David Hay, they set up to an extent. You know, when some people are just like, oh, it's fake. I think what happened there was David Hay might have been like, "Yo, call me out after the fight, innit? And then we can make that big payday." And then knowing how them two are, I think it just went left, as in like, "Yo, you wasn't meant to punch me and have a glass in your hand whilst you punch." Do you get what I'm saying? David Hay probably punched him with what's it, with a champagne glass in his hand, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you just cuts it.
Yeah, I think Chisora was probably there like that. You know, the ones like this weren't part of the plan. I forgot what was said to David Hay to provoke him, but I'm sure David Hay was probably thinking as well, like, you're not thinking straight at that moment. It's like, even though yes, you're calling me out, like, but brother, I've just lost a world title fight. He's probably still fuming. So David Hay's probably gone in there like, yo, bun the plan away, man.
I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, Chisora's just switching it, and remember, it got banned from being hosted in the UK. No, their British boxing license got banned. They had to fight under Luxembourg. People forget about that. So that for me is up there. Then you got him flipping the table at Dillian White at their press conference. Then you have him switching, saying he's not going to fight on the card unless his pay changes against.
That was the
Taylor versus
Prograde card, yeah.
Yeah.
And then for me, like, I think you've got all them. You've got his knockouts that he's had. I just think he's been comedy gold. I think one of the things that just epitomizes what he does, like, yes, he's had the ones where he's been pissed off with people, and you can sense that. But then you got the one with Usyk, and it's just him and Usyk going back and forth, was just hilarious because it was just having fun with it, and they were just taking the mick out of each other, and just all together. When I look at Derek Chisora, I've said it before, like, genuinely a British boxing hero. Like, there was a lot of talks about him being in the Hall of Fame. I don't know about Hall of Fame, but I can see it.
He's got it's not Hall of Fame, but it's like a weird. He's a fighter's fighter. That's what it is. He's very much a fighter's fighter. That's very much a equivalent of football streets won't forget type of fighter.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think what's happened recently more so is the fans have genuinely just grown to love him. Like, I think he had his fans, then he had people who just thought he's a bit of a clown and he's a bit of a loser, and not in a horrible way.
Yeah.
Because he went through that losing period.
I'll say, go on. You go on. I'll
yeah.
go.
I was going to say, because he went through that losing period, people just said, he's just he loses fights. He's there. It's what I used to call him. I used to call him the litmus test for heavyweight. When you move up to heavyweight, you want to fight Derek to see where you're at. And I think something happened. I don't know what the switch was, but something happened where then people that weren't maybe fans of him and just looked at him in that way, just switched over. And I don't see people actually hating on Derek Chisora, and I'm happy about that. Like, he brings you genuine entertainment in a period where boxing is there, but there's something about the way he does it. He doesn't bring it as an arsehole. He brings comedy to it, and there's not like that awkwardness about it. It's just like, that's Derek Chisora. He's not trying too hard, because we've seen it from 2007 to now. So I think people have just grown and appreciated it a bit more.
Do you know what it is? I think, like, certain times in life, you just have to respect what people are. Whether you like them or not, you have to respect it. And I think Chisora is in that space where it's like, hate him or love him, you gotta respect it. The same way I despise this guy now because of comments he's made out of football, but I'll put that to the side. The same way I always liked Zlatan Ibrahimovic in football for his outlandish statements, because his thing was always like, do you think I worked this hard to be humble? Like, you can't humble me. Like, yes, I'm that good. And to be fair, when you put in the work, you can say that. And then eventually people started liking Zlatan because it's just like, whether you love him or hate him, he didn't switch up. So you have to respect it. Same way, Michael Bisping in MMA, that he was despised for years. And I remember I grew up in a time when Michael Bisping was on the come up. So there's a lot of people that might have watched him after his championship win and think like, oh, he's always been like the lovable guys. That no, he was despised. Like, I remember when he was an Ultimate Fighter against Dan Henderson, he got knocked out and he was like enemy number one. But
UFC 100, I remember it. Yeah.
But listen, even after the knockouts, Bisping was still the same mouthy Brit, and eventually you just have to be like, I respect, like, yo, I respect it. You didn't lose and switch up and get humbled. It's like, oh no, you took the loss. You took the loss. I think there's a difference between not staying humble after a loss, and then there's you as a person are still the same even after a loss. You can take the loss as a man, and you're still the same. It's not like obviously there's some dickheads out there that
Like
can't take
Conor,
the loss.
let's just put it as this. Conor McGregor is that
Yeah, like
dickhead.
the
Yeah,
likes of Conor and Kobe
'cause
Covington, where it's
yeah.
just like you can't just take a loss. There's always something. There's always an excuse. Whereas the likes of Chisora, you have to respect. Like eventually, you have to respect the dog in him. You have to respect that dog where it's just like he lost, but this guy will. He's a honey badger. This guy will just not stop moving forward, whether he takes an L or whatever. And eventually, it's like you have to respect it. And I think that's what made Chisora connect with fans is because they saw even after the losses, and even you might have consecutive losses, and then you're just looking at him like, oh, but you're not championship material, and it's just like, then he just carries on doing what he's doing, and then you start looking at him like, I gotta respect that this guy he's just still up for a slugfest, but also remember, he still started getting wins as well. It wasn't just there's a difference between. It's not like he was on a Tony
Tony
Ferguson
Ferguson.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a Tony Ferguson thing where it's just like, yo, this is like 7 losses in a row. Once he started getting a few wins and found his level, that's when it was just like he got himself into a niche lane where it's just like, I don't need to go for the belt no more. Just give me fun fights that people be interested in. Give me slugfest that people be interested in, and I'll give them my all. And that's when people started to be like, you have to respect that.
Just quickly, I know you said that about title fights and stuff, but this 50th fight, technically, it could be for a world title. So
No.
it won't. I don't think it will be as well. I don't personally think it will be myself. But in the biggest fairy tale of fairy tales, 50th fight, final fight, if it was for a world title and you won the world title, like, can you remember a somewhat fairy tale ending in terms of all sports? I'm going to put it out there.
Let me tell you something. The only person who's had a fairy tale ending in sport is George St. Pierre in MMA. George St. Pierre became the middleweight champion, and then he said it was because he's got a similar issue to me. Basically, he said it was a stomach issue, which I believe it was. At the same time, I also believe GSP got that belt. He saw he had to face Robert Whittaker next, and he was just like, I don't love this sport enough to be.
So this is my thing. With the difference between GSP was he never declared that would be his final fight. If that makes sense.
But I don't know if Chisora was to ever win a title shot, he's not retiring. Only because
I think he will.
He would. I'm telling you this now. He knows the amount of bank that's gonna come in if he was to ever win that world title. He will take one more fight. Whereas the difference was GSP was in a situation where he even said himself, he loves martial arts. He doesn't like fighting. So I think for him it was easy to just be like, you know what, I've pushed the line. I've pushed my limit. I'm done. For him, I think it was easy to just be like, yo, I'm done. You're not going to draw me out to be another MMA guy. I'm not going to be fed to the next hungry contenders. Whereas Chisora, because he actually loves fighting, if he was to win a belt, it'll be the worst thing to happen to him because he will carry on. Imagine the bag that Chisora is going to get if he won a world title. What? He might even get a Wembley show. Are you crazy?
Are you ready for this? I'm going to put this out there. And it's gonna sound crazy. That Manchester Arena that I saw yesterday.
Yeah.
When promoters say, "Oh, so many tickets, X, Y, and Z sold," I'm like, "Yeah, let's see on the night. Let's see on the night how long it takes to fill up." It was 7 p.m. The first fight was happening. But 80% of that arena. When I say that arena, I mean, I would say 75% of the arena was actually open. It felt like, or 65% of that, of about 20,000 plus arena was open. and about 70% of that 65% that was open was filled up. So they did numbers for
Yeah.
Derek Chisora in Manchester. So I fully 100% expect numbers for Fight 50. The only problem is they build this one as the last dance for the UK. When we spoke to him in the press conference, he goes, "I'm going back to London." So I'm just like, the last dance that you built is not the last dance at all.
Wait, where did he say? Because I got a feeling he's probably got to deal with
Turkey.
yeah, and then
He just said it. He said it in the presser afterwards because I think he wanted to fight in Africa, but he said because of all the situations that's happening and stuff, he's not going to be there. And he goes, "F it, we're going back to London."
No
So
one.
I don't know how true it is,
That
but
is
I
a. Let
believe
me
it
tell you.
was a
Do
be
you know
true.
what that's called? That is called bargaining for making sure. Hey, if you want me to come to Riyadh, give me that bag.
Do you know what? I'm going to say this, and I don't want to sound. I don't want Derek Chisora in Riyadh. I
He
want Derek
deserves it. He
Chisora.
deserves that. I
No,
think
no,
people keep forgetting these lot are prize fighters. Go
no,
get
no. I
that
hear it.
bag.
I
You've
hear it. I
had
hear
your
it.
you've had your farewell, London card and London. Sorry, you've had your farewell Manchester card. I get what you mean because listen, to your credit, you said you're drinking a Derek Chisora
Yeah,
Kool-Aid.
there is something about certain fighters.
Stop
I'm happy to
whilst
just be
you're
here.
ahead. Stop whilst you're ahead. Just stop whilst you're ahead. That's all I
No, no,
want
I'm
these
okay
guys
with
to
him
be able to
fighting at
enjoy their
50.
money.
I'm okay with him just fighting at 50 and disappearing.
Yeah.
But I'd love it to be the UK again, just because the vibes were
Nah.
unbelievable.
He said what he said. I hope he sticks to it. I'm sure that Riyadh season, I'm sure that Turkey will give him a nice little farewell
But
retirement fund. So
one
yeah,
last question
yeah.
before we just talk a little bit about Canelo. Derek Chisora's boxing legacy. How big of a hole do you think it'll be to fulfill by anybody when he eventually calls time at 50? And what do you think his legacy is?
His legacy is just a war horse. That's like a true servant to the game. I think he built his own niche that I don't know. There's very few people that can follow that niche where you're a fan favorite and people just want to see you fight. There's very few people that get that because there's champions that can't even get that, let alone someone who is not championship level, but then people still want to see you fight anyway. And especially the way where boxing's going right now in terms of like all like the mainstay TV stations, everything's going on the zone. So it's not even like back in the day when, you built boxing via ITV, every now and then Channel 4, Sky, whether it was Setanta Sports, BT Sports,
Box Nation
TNT,
TV,
Box
all that.
Nation. I wouldn't even put Box Nation in that because Box Nation was still niche in itself. But in terms of all the other mainstay, boxing's going away from that and going, for me, it's going a bit too digital. I feel
I
like
hear it. I hear it. I know what you mean.
you can't grow the sport with it being on the zone. I don't even know how the UK is going to have any stars at this rate. Because people keep forgetting the stars are made when, you're doing the shows on Sky Sports and I'm not even talking about pay-per-view, but, boxers effed out, but that's a story for another day. But where boxing is going right now is a bit worrying in terms of like mainstream, added to the fact that love him or hate him, Eddie Hearn was the main driver for bringing boxing back in the UK in a big way in the last decade or so. Eddie Hearn has clearly seen that the UK is on the decline, and this guy's gone to basically America and Australia to start
Oh,
building up the sport there.
I will say this to take that point. He may have done that, but this is where I know we're going to go a bit off tangent.
Mhm.
This is where Ben Shalom's failed, and Frank Warren's just, with his experience, has just excelled because he's taken to a point what Eddie had in
Yeah,
terms of somewhat of a stranglehold, especially because Eddie's younger, so he's got that youthfulness about him.
yeah,
Frank's now brought it in where he's like, okay, if he's going to Australia, if he's going to America, if the shows aren't hitting like they are, I've got a decent roster where I can put on some level of quality enough for UK-ish shows.
Yeah, this is here's the thing with Frank where it gets a bit weird. He's good at promoting people that's already stars,
Mm.
and then he's good at promoting grassroots up to, let's say, mid-level. So it's like
Yes.
for the last year, Frank's been dominating, like in terms of like all the local / British level scene. That's been Frank's bag. We've seen on TNT Sports, like he's been doing a lot of those cards where it's like headlined by British title fights.
I'll be honest with you. One of my favorite cards are some, and it sounds Magnificent Seven.
Yeah,
I love that
you get what I'm
concept. I
saying.
love that concept.
But there's a middle ground between the British level to world title, which is where I feel like that's where Eddie Hearn was perfect at. Eddie Hearn was perfect at who is British level. All right, cool. You need to be propped up to become a world champion. And when he was at Sky Sports, Eddie was the best that we're going to get you those headlines on Sky Sports. Do you get what I'm saying? Sky
Yeah.
Sports, not even Sky Sports Boxing at the time. It was just Sky Sports 1, 2, and whatever number before they started going into like separate channels. Eddie was brilliant at, I'm going to make you a household name via Sky Sports on the mid level. Because I think that's the important thing that people, when people wondering why boxing doesn't connect, is because of that mid level. It's not the start. Well, in order to get the stars, you need to master that mid level. You need to be able to take them from British champion to world champion, and then get people's interest so that they follow you. And that middle ground is gone right now because not everyone's gonna have the zone. The zone is like for people that if you're into boxing, but the big money is the people that may not care about every single boxer, but they're here for the big, stars. And we had a conversation in the group when I was saying about AJ, like people take for granted what AJ was doing, like multiple Wembley Stadium fights. We're not going to see that in a long time. And as much as I like the likes of Triple D and Atama, these guys don't have the personality to not yet anyway. They haven't shown me nothing commercial wise to indicate that you can bring that crowd. Because AJ was the full package. Let's be honest, he was the full package. He had the look, he had the knockouts, he could fight, gold medalist, could fit into different like social crowds. So it was just like, as much as people tried to hate on AJ, he was the guy. And as much as people tried to act like he was quote unquote manufactured, I'm sorry, after that Klitschko fight, he showed people he deserved to be, he deserved the big money that came for him. He deserved that.
I hear it.
That type of, I still remember like the whole him, winning the gold at the Olympics and then, going on to become what he became. I remember that journey, like he fought on a card of like Froch and Groves, you get what I'm saying? Like that's how you meant to build guys. That's how you meant to build them from like Olympic. Like I haven't seen what Olympic guys have we got right now. We don't care about them. All due respect.
Yeah, I think
Even like Boatsy and Okoli were the next crop, and
Can I
even
be honest?
them lot, we didn't
Yeah,
really. We
no.
want them to succeed. We absolutely want them to succeed. But in terms of the public caring like they did for AJ,
That star aura is not there.
it's never about aura though, because AJ is an anomaly, not the norm. But even like to the point of forget AJ, like the Tony Bellus of the world, or the UK, shall I say, because we're talking about the UK market. We don't have the Tony Bellus of like just that guy that we've seen just, claw his way to the top, follow his story. I remember even Tony Bellew was talking about he didn't even make that much money when he done his big fight at
Usyk.
Everton Stadium. No, Usyk, I think he got paid well. I think he said he didn't get paid well until basically he was breaking even until the David Haye fight. Those views are, but the fact that
but there was interest because of everything you've done prior to that. We can put you there.
and I feel like with a lot of fighters right now, that interest isn't there. So I've always said, enjoy this booming boxing right now. Well, even let me not talk about world boxing. In terms of UK boxing,
Yeah.
enjoy this boom of Riyadh season right now, where a lot of the stars are going to get paid. Because after this, I'm very worried about where British boxing goes if everything's just going to be on the zone.
Listen, I'm going to say this. You segued perfectly into it. But before we do that, I've got to just say my final bit on Derek.
Please do.
I've always called Derek a British boxing hero, and I fully stand
He
by
is.
it. I've also put it out there as well when it comes to heavyweight boxers, win, lose, or draw. His resume stacks up with every single other boxer in the heavyweight division because he's fought the best of the best, and he may have lost them, but he's acknowledged the fact that he knows where he is. When he does 50, wherever he does 50, I think he has the potential to 100% sell out that specific arena that he does. They are saying they may want to. I think Derek Chisora has the possibility to sell the arena out properly, full capacity. I think
Are you
he can
talking
do
about
it.
London or Manchester?
London or Manchester. I think he'll be in London, an arena. I think he can
I
genuinely
think
sell
he
out.
would need the right dance partner.
Yes, yeah, he needs
But
a
I
value dance
don't
dancer.
know if there's the only other dance partner right now. He's already taken out Joe Joyce, and it would have been Dillian White, but he's not been as active, so it's hard. I think Dillian White would have been the perfect dance partner but he's not in the best space right now
Yeah,
for him to be the best dance partner.
but for me, I'm glad. I would say I am glad that he's actually getting the respect that he deserves. And then
Yeah.
I'll say this: meeting him the times that I have done, genuinely, you may come across some people may think he's a bit of an idiot for the stuff that he may say, but he's genuinely one of the nicest people. Like,
Yeah, I've heard.
what? Yeah, he said like we were there
I've heard
yesterday.
he's nice. Obviously, don't push it too far because he's still.
Yeah, of course. Well, he's always said it. He goes, "Don't come to me when my kids are there." But
Yeah,
outside, if you see me and you approach me, I'll say hello to you. Whatever. Like
be on
he's
your
not
P's and
gonna
Q's.
shy
But
you
yeah,
off.
he's good people. Just be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah,
Don't get too comfortable.
and he will have a laugh with you. Like he'll sit down with media and be like, "You fuckers, all you fuckers, let's go, let's do this now." So he has that fun, and he looks intimidating. But at the end of the day, like I went to him and I said, "Derek, you're one of my heroes." He goes, "Come, let's get the picture done now." He pushed whoever it was. We took a couple of pictures together and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll say this, Derek. I'm
God
happy I
bless
met
him.
him. So yeah, they say don't meet your heroes. I met one of mine. I'm gonna meet one of mine next year as well, which we'll go into it hopefully.
Speaking
Canelo
about
Alvarez.
opponents, but yeah,
No,
go
we're
on.
not talking about opponents. We're not going to talk about opponents because it's a subjective discourse on what is a good opponent versus what isn't.
It's not, but go on.
Canelo Alvarez signs with Riyadh season, Turkey Al Sheikh, and I think that move has completely flipped the entire landscape of boxing, especially for 2026.
No,
2025, he will honor the dates that he's done in general, and he's going to have one of the two fights being in September in America. But in 2026, for me, the biggest star America has, even though he's technically Mexican, is not
biggest
going to
North American star.
North American star.
Yeah,
He's not going to honor the dates that people will watch him for. He's going to fight in Riyadh season. He's going to fight in Saudi. But I do think they're going to flip it a little bit where when he fights, the time zone is going to adhere more to the American crowd. So I do think they are going to do that. But your thoughts on the signings, and more importantly, the fact that in 26, he's not going to fight on them Mexican days that we're so used to.
listen, this way it is. That man has been waiting to cash out, and now it's time to cash out. There is literally very little money left in American boxing. Big money, shall I say.
Yeah. No.
Excuse me. Same way, it was like, I think the last biggest American fight was probably Crawford versus Spence.
Mm.
After that, Where's the money? There's not as much money for him versus Belanga. There's not going to be as much money as him versus Mungia. And even those fights, for all I know, the promotion was operating at a loss because we already know that, Canelo takes a big portion of whether the fight purse is,
Everything. He
etc., and
takes
concessions,
everything.
everything. So I think with him not facing a certain who, it's time to cash out because there's no money in him facing anyone else because the potential person he's fighting next is gonna be Skull. And all
For the
respect to
undisputed.
Skull, all respect for Skull. One division undisputed. Just so clarification, because I saw how you tried to label it before, which was nasty.
Two-time
Okay.
undisputed
No.
champion at
One
168.
division, two-time undisputed champion. Put
Yeah.
the one division in there first. Don't forget the one division. That's very important.
No, but am I
one
wrong?
Division.
So all of a sudden,
One
okay,
division.
fine, one division, but all of a sudden being a two-time undisputed champion in
one
division.
No, because
Allow me
you know
to
what you're
finish.
doing. This is what the media does.
No.
This is the same thing. I remember when Tank was fighting. My friends are casuals. So when Tank was facing Ryan Garcia, and at the time I believe Tank was the regular WBA champion. And so I remember my boy was just like, "Oh yeah, did you see when Tank beat Ryan Garcia for the World Championship?" And I had to let him know that's not a World Championship fight. And he goes, "What do you mean he had a belt?" And I said, "That's a regular championship. It's not the undisputed WBA champion."
Yeah, but no, but
it was good marketing. The same way with Canelo, when you're saying two-time, mention that two-time is not that two-time. No. The reason I say no, that's why I said no.
That's what it is.
Say the division, because that two-time.
That's what I'm saying.
No, you wasn't saying that. You just get saying two-time undisputed.
No. Let me finish. This fight that he is having.
Look at you can't even finish your sentence. Look at that.
It's for undisputed to potentially be a two-time undisputed champion at 168.
You weren't saying that before, but I'm glad.
I was, and to sit here and discredit it for whatever purpose because
it's not discrediting it.
So then why we can't hate on that?
It's not hating. It's the fact that one, you weren't saying the 168 part at the start.
I was. He's a two-time 168 champion.
And two is more. Unfortunately for him, the only viable contender that was there, he already froze out.
Well, to be honest,
wait. Kudos to him. He went on his own path and is now in contention to fight for a light heavyweight title. So kudos to him. We're not going to go over that because we already know how shameless you get. But then now he's facing the consequence of, I'm not saying Skull's not a viable champion, but commercial-wise, you're not the guy. So guess what? Now, this is why I always said, when people are asking like, why is Canelo signing now for Riyadh? It's because he's cashing out. There's him versus Skull. How much money is that going to get if you done pay-per-view in America? You're not going to get that much. Like, no one cares about Skull. No disrespect. No one cares about him in regards to.
Can I say something controversial? Can I say something? You might find this a bit controversial, or you might just say, "Oh, you're just a hater."
Go on.
Benavidez and Morale. The only reason it got interest is simply because their names were thrown alongside Canelo Alvarez prior to them fighting.
Correct. I'm not going to deny that.
Outside of that, they are not as big as some people would think they are. They only have value.
No.
They only have value as a fight because of Canelo Alvarez.
They don't only have value. People know that.
Please tell me, respectfully.
Okay, wait. Outside of Benavidez, you tell me this then. Outside of Benavidez, who are the contenders that people care about for Canelo?
There isn't any.
Exactly my point. Exactly. No. Okay. Exactly my point. Outside of Benavidez, people didn't care about Mungia. People didn't care about Belanga. Let's be honest.
But people didn't care about David Morrell then on that basis. The reason I say
yes, you're right. You're right. They care about Benavidez is the only one people care about. That's the only contender people care about. The only contender people care about is Benavidez, and he throws him out.
I don't believe he's frozen because I still honestly
froze him out. Let me tell you something. Benavidez now is in a position where, and he's done the right thing. Benavidez is in a position where he will only face Canelo if he has to. Whereas before, when he was at 168, it's like I've exhausted all avenues.
I disagree with that.
At 168, he exhausted all avenues to the point where it's just like this guy just doesn't want to fight. Because what did Canelo say? He started asking for some obscene amount of money if he wants to face Benavidez, which was if that's not a clear duck, then I don't know what is. Because why aren't you asking for that amount of money? Why are you not asking for that amount of money to face Belanga or Munguia? Anywho.
Yeah.
So what Benavidez done was, guess what? If I wait for you, it could be a Kell Brook Khan situation where I ruin my career just waiting for that one guy. Whereas what he done was, I'm going to beat all the other 168 viable contenders, as well as go to light heavyweight and position myself for a title shot at light heavyweight. So now he's got more control of his own career, and kudos to him, because now Canelo is now in a spot where Canelo faces Skull. Guess what? You're going to need to go up to like after he faces Skull. Let's say he wins against Skull. Let's say he has this fight with Crawford. He has this fight with Crawford. Let's say he wins that. Who else is there for you? You have to go to like heavyweight.
This is what I said. This is what I said. Remember what I said at the start of this year.
Tomatoes. I'm throwing tomatoes.
No, hear me out. No, not about Benavidez. It's not about Benavidez.
My battery is on 3%. So I'm gonna run and get my charger. You say your point, and for the listening audience,
you come back.
This man.
You come back because
let me get my charger. Boo this man. You say
I'm gonna hit a little pause. You come back. No. If you go, I think we're back. Cool. So it's not about Benavidez. I mentioned one name to you that I said has a potential if all the chips fall, and he's also rumored, funny enough, in 2026 to be one of Canelo's opponents. And I believe that fight happens, and that was Hamza Shiraz. But he had to have all the chips fall for him in 2025 to get that fight done.
Listen, if Hamza gets that fight, I'll be happy. But if you're telling me you waited out Benavidez to face Hamza,
no, hear me out. And this is where the final. Listen, I like to do storybooks. I love reading. This is the final chapter.
No, I'm not trying to.
It's just
this story is trash.
Where are we fighting in Saudi Arabia, where His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh is a wrestling fan? So let me paint you this story. We complete the 168. Then the final fight of this 4-fight deal. David Benavidez potentially is a champion at 175. Well, if he's not at that point, then we're gonna have to have a different conversation about him and his legitimacy anyway.
No, he's got legitimacy. If he loses, there's don't do that, because if David Benavidez was to lose to Beterbiev or Bivol, you're still legitimate. Let's not do that.
Whatever, subjective. But
no, it's not, because
he has nothing to offer. He has nothing to offer at that point.
Is Canelo trash because he lost to Bivol?
No, but Canelo has something. No, my point being is there's nothing to offer to fight Benavidez at that point. But that being said, final fight in that Riyadh season package, I genuinely believe will be David Benavidez. If David Benavidez, because a year and a half is a long way away, if David Benavidez is still relevant at that particular point in time, I genuinely believe we see Canelo David Benavidez there.
This is horrible booking. It's not, because
I've always said this. Until this Crawford fight actually came about, I thought it was going to be this year. But now I do see it being next year. But just for me, that in general, like, I like it, but I will say this: I don't love it. The only thing I love is the fact that it gives me access to be able to potentially go to a Canelo fight, and it's going to cost me a lot less money, which is one thing I wanted to do. But I will say this: like, there is something about certain fighters honoring specific dates, and that's where the hole in that Mexican market falls off. But I know you don't care, but I get it. I
don't care. I said he's run the
he's run the course.
Dry. He's won the world dry. There is nothing. Those dates are only good as the opponents that you can get for it.
Well, I'll say this: Floyd did them right to the
end. No. But here's the thing: but Floyd, same way with Floyd, he done those dates, and after the Pacquiao fight, who do you face after? Do you remember?
Berto? Was it Berto?
Exactly, and no one cared.
Yeah.
So that's my whole point of.
Okay, yeah, I hear.
And I don't even know if Floyd done that date on. I don't even know if Floyd fought Pacquiao on one of those dates. But the point being is,
he fought Manny May 18th or 19th.
yeah, so that's not even Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, it's just in May. Do you know what it
Yeah,
is?
exactly. That's my whole
May.
point. You've got to know where the line is, and I feel like with Canelo, especially after the last one he done with Belanga, I think he realized this is the end of the line. And the only reason Belanga had somewhat success, if Belanga wasn't Puerto Rican, no one would care. That's the truth. The truth is they needed Mexico versus Puerto Rico to make it some pizzazz to it, because no one cares about Belanga. That's the truth. And now that date is dependent on, maybe Benavidez might be, if Benavidez gets a belt, he might be the guy to restore the feeling for that. But right now,
I will say this. The one thing I'm going to disagree with you on is, I'll agree with you that no one really cares about Belanga. But I would also say, similar to a point where I don't think a lot of people cared about Floyd's opponents. They cared more about either hating on Floyd to see if he could lose or watching Floyd. I feel the same with Canelo.
No,
in the sense
Canelo
that
is past that now. Canelo needs a good opponent.
No. My point being is, when they were watching the fights, some of them anyway, it was a case of, we're watching for Canelo. We're not watching for the opponent. And stuff like that. I think
that's what I'm saying. Canelo's past that point.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Of
we can only watch you for you.
Yeah, I think after, obviously he lost to Bivol, and then I think it was the Triple G fight where people started to be like, "Yo, we need to care about your opponent now." I think after the Triple G fight, that was the one where it was just like,
I think the third one was too much. It didn't need it.
But I was happy for it, because for me, that was Triple G was owed money, and
but do you know what he also did?
Payday.
This is the only thing I will say. I don't know. I don't want to come across to say Triple G was done, but I think it showed a level. Between them.
Don't do that. When Triple G was in their prime,
that's what I mean.
He arguably beat Canelo. That was a let me cash out payday.
That's fine. But it also it's just to some people, not myself, because it was like whatever. We remember the first two. The third one with Triple G look a little sad because of how much Canelo dominated. That's my point.
Don't do that, because I know what you're doing. Don't do that. No, we already knew what it was. Triple G was past it, and he was there for his payday, and that's it. It wasn't a reflection of how good Triple G was. It wasn't a reflection of how good Canelo was. It was a reflection of time has passed one boxer, and one of them is a cash cow that needs a rebound fight after he lost to Bivol. That's the truth. Don't try. I know what you're trying to do. Don't try to be slick. That is some of the most nasty propaganda. Nasty propaganda. Every single time you try to bring that propaganda, I'm gonna swat it down.
I was just showing the level of difference at that particular point in their career.
It is nasty. Yeah, and the level of difference, because they're in the different stages of their career.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all I was saying.
No, he wasn't, because you were trying to say about levels, and no, it wasn't about levels. It was about different stages in the career, not about levels. Because when they were in similar stages in their career, that guy potentially lost twice.
Potentially, but the record books will say 1 draw, 1 win.
Listen, and context is needed, because guess what? I'm going to flip it on you, and now you're going to have to act less shameless. There's going to be a point where people didn't, grow up watching, with you being a Chelsea fan, people didn't watch the greatness of Hazard.
Yep.
And then they're going to look at Hazard's stats, and they're going to be like, was he really that great?
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to add the context of, don't you dare try to speak down on Hazard's stats. I watched him play. I know how great he was. I know the impact.
And then what I'll do is I'll bring the tapes out for them if they
exactly. Want to. So when you are trying to, when you are trying to do your silly propaganda of, but we know what the result is, I'm also going to bring out the tapes and say,
and I will still be able to watch. I'll still be able to watch both fights.
And you can watch that fight and know that Golden Boy had a hand in making sure that Canelo didn't lose, because he was their golden child and he was their golden egg, and he's the one that was their ticket before Canelo himself even realized, I don't like this.
I'm bigger than Golden
Boy. I'm bouncing.
But
don't try to do that.
Listen, all I'm going to say is, thank you, Derek Chisora, for boxing. Thank you, Canelo Alvarez. And thank you,
Stop.
Turkey. No. Let me finish my thank yous. Thank you to His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh. I hope you give us accreditation for February next year, because I want to be sitting on that bus. I just want to ask Canelo what his favorite swear word is. I just want to have a swear off with the man. That's all I want to do.
Listen, shout out Canelo for security. Because I hate these conversations because you make it seem like I dislike Canelo. I was probably
At
supporting.
this point, honestly, I don't think.
Listen, I was probably supporting Canelo before you even knew Canelo was.
At this point,
I remember watching. I remember being at 2012, being at uni, watching Canelo, thinking he was an Irishman, and then hearing this guy speak Spanish, thinking, "What the hell? I've been duped."
Hey, listen, now he speaks English like an Irishman.
I was watching Canelo on HBO. That's how far back it goes with me and Canelo.
Yeah,
I have love for Canelo. I appreciate where he's gone in his career, but we are not going.
I knew there was a book coming with you.
No. But I also have to call out when people do nasty things, or if they do things to make it in their advantage. I don't even mind. But let's not go on like that's not what's happening. That's my only thing. But let's not, because we'll start going in.
We'll go for too long. No, I hear it.
We know you're shameless. So, but yeah, let's wave this off.
We're gonna wrap it up. We got a big couple of weeks coming up. Mr. Boring himself, Jack Cattrall, goes into another interim title fight.
Come on, world title.
And a week later, we have Dimitri Bivol, better be of the best boxing card of all time. So, it's a fun period of time for boxing. January was a bit mid, but we've got the ball rolling properly now. And guys, like, share, subscribe. Until next time, stay weighted.
Come on, Jack.
It's another band. All the Muslim cars now, whichever get up. I thought my card with a sweet one place. Someone flicks me a back by the end. So, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.